Heya Cryptozens, it's 10 p.m. Pacific time. My name is Nikodemus, and welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter, where we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. Hey folks, welcome back to Leftover Night, where we take a look at stories we didn't get to from earlier in the week. And let's start off with Monday. Brazil has a new president following a close race that ended in a runoff, and that winner is Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, also known as Lula. And this was a runoff that saw Lula defeat the incumbent with 50.9% of the vote, 60 million votes compared to the incumbent's 58 million. And while Lula is due to take the president's office in January, reports suggest that the outgoing president plans to challenge the results. Now, what do we know about this guy? Well, this isn't his first rodeo. Lula was president of Brazil before, between 2003 and 2010. He reportedly said that cryptocurrencies deserve the attention of the authorities, and in doing so, he called for Brazil's central bank to start creating a framework for digital assets. This framework needs to align itself with the country's standards as well as international standards on things like anti-money laundering. Enrique Mireles currently holds an advisory role at Binance. That said, he's a close ally of Lula's and had been the former president of their central bank. He might be looking to take a position with Lula's government, whatever that's worth. So there's that, but Lula hasn't said much on the cryptocurrency subject or blockchain. Now, he did register his plan for Brazil's government on the Decred blockchain. He called it an example of, quote, an innovative and incorruptible technology of records distributed by computers around the world that is also behind Bitcoin. Now, there are no guarantees, of course. I don't think Lula's going to act against crypto. Not yet. There are more than 12,000 companies in Brazil that are holding crypto as of last August. That's a lot of incentive to make sure that digital assets have a place in the country's economic future. Also, as we've reported here, there are a number of bills making their way through Brazil's legal process that aim to make crypto payments legal in Brazil. Tuesday, Chinese Central Bank Governor Yuan was at Hong Kong FinTech Week, and he was giving a speech. And during this speech, he was talking about how their central bank digital currency is coming along, the digital yuan. So he gave kind of an update on the CBDC's adoption. And it was in this speech that Yi noted that the digital yuan is meant to be a cash alternative. He said something interesting at that point. He said, quote, privacy protection is one of the top issues on our agenda. Now, frankly, privacy considerations are one of the last things I would expect from a central bank from China, but okay. He went on to say that their CBDC would have a two-layer payment system that offered, quote, controllable anonymity. On one level, the central bank only gives transaction information and only transaction information to the operators that process those kinds of transactions. But on another level, those operators can collect personal information as needed. Now, he also promised that the data would be encrypted and stored, that potentially sensitive information would be stored anonymously and kept secure from third parties. Reportedly, users would be able to transact anonymously up to a certain amount. Above that amount, and you'll need a specialized e-wallet. Now, as you might expect, the central bank is keenly aware of the double-edged sword anonymity represents. They said, quote, we recognize that anonymity and transparency are not black and white, and there are many nuances that need to be carefully weighed. In particular, we need to strike a precise balance between protecting individual privacy and combating illegal activities. Now, these comments by Yi line up with what has been said by the head of the CBDC program, Mu Changcheng, because back in July, it was Mu who said that CBDCs don't have to be as anonymous as cash. Predictably, he fell on claims that a completely anonymous CBDC would not let them prevent crimes such as money laundering and tax evasion. So China got started on their CBDC back in 2014. In 2019, they launched their pilot. In the intervening years, the testbed has expanded to millions of retail customers across the country. the demands of a retail CDBC are greater than an institutional CDBC that just moves value between banks. So the fact that they have more people in their retail pilot project than there are in the entire United States indicates to me that their product is very far along indeed. Right now, it's estimated that more than $14 billion in transactions have been settled using the digital yuan. Wednesday. The Dubai Financial Services Authority announced yesterday their new token regime has come into force at the Dubai International Finance Center. This will include a 6-month adjustment period. Now, the DIFC, the Dubai International Finance Center, is what they call a special economic zone. And in this second round of regulations put out by the DFSA, this builds on the regulation of investment tokens document that introduced in October of last year. So what is a crypto token? It's any kind of token except investment tokens, which have already been defined, as well as utility tokens, NFTs, CDBCs, privacy tokens, algorithmic tokens. Not only that, but the DFSA must recognize the token before it can be traded in their special economic zone. In this new regime are measures that are meant to strengthen both the anti-money laundering measures and the countering terrorism finance measures, but also more mundane concerns like consumer protection and market integrity and custody and financial resources for service providers. Now, we first heard of these regulatory measures in a paper back in March. That paper itself had an extensive comment period. Ian Johnson is the DFSA's chief executive. He said, quote, "Our work to develop a comprehensive crypto token regime has taken into account feedback from a broad range of stakeholders. It aims to strike a balance between encouraging innovation in the DIFC and protecting the consumers of these financial products." Now, for a bit of background, the Dubai International Finance Center was established in 2004. There are over 4,000 companies, all subject to the center's unique legal and court system, as well as special tax arrangements. Outside of the DIFC, the Financial Services Authority has no authority. There's also the Dubai Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. Now, this was set up in March. Their job is to oversee the virtual assets for the rest of the emirate. This includes other free trade zones, such as the Dubai Multi-Commodities Center. They have also licensed several crypto firms, as well as opening a presence in the Sandbox metaverse. Thursday. Crypto has had a bit of a rough time in Canada of late. Trudeau took steps to block Canadian truckers from receiving donations that would enable them to keep protesting. And then when donors turned to crypto to try to support the cause, Trudeau took steps again. His government sought to order, bully, and intimidate companies into complying with his orders. So it's against that backdrop that I'm viewing this next story that comes to us from Quebec, because their energy manager wants to discriminate against crypto mining firms by reallocating roughly 270 megawatts. So here's what's up. Hydro-Quebec manages electricity across the whole province. And this information comes to us by way of a tweet. Thursday, November 3rd, Canadian lawmaker Pierre Fitzgibbon said that the government would be formally asking permission from the Energy Board. And that permission would be to release Hydro-Quebec from its obligation to provide electricity to crypto miners and instead reallocate that, making it available for other customers. Now, right now, miners have 270 megawatts allocated to them. Hydro-Quebec is worried that demand will grow to the point that crypto mining will strain the system. This was in a November 1st report that Hydro-Quebec filed, saying that doing this, allowing them to reallocate that electricity, would help prevent the threat to the reliability and security of energy for other customers. Now, one thing to keep in mind here, they said that this takes into account all of the demand from green sources of energy for things like mining crypto and greenhouse farming. They said, quote, "The additional energy needs in winter are high, and this, without the addition of the load related to the balance of the block reserved for cryptographic use applied to blockchains, There are anticipated energy purchases of roughly 3 terawatt hours in winter from 2025 and even exceeding 3 terawatt hours in 2027. So they're not talking about this year, they're talking about in the future. Now, it was already set in their plan for crypto firms to increase the draw of electricity by 0.7 terawatt hours, and they expected to reach that estimate in 2028. But since March of 2021, Canadian miners have been hit with additional tariffs. They also gave the province options with which to scale mining operations as a measure to reduce the load on the power grid. So here's the struggle, right? Tax revenue from crypto firms versus the energy demands from mining. According to the Ontario Securities Commission, crypto adoption in Canada is just exploding. Their CEO said that more than 30% of Canadians plan to buy crypto in the next year. Friday. Uala is a fintech company based in Argentina, and they're making a new service available to their roughly 4.5 million users. They're enabling Bitcoin and Ethereum trading for their customers. Now, this project will reportedly start out with a few thousand users. This is according to Andres Lederman. Lederman is VP of Wealth Management at Uala. Now, while they're starting with a few thousand, they're expecting that to roll out to all of their 4.5 million customers in the coming weeks. Now, this is just purchase and sales. There's no withdrawals, no transfers. The minimum transaction size is 250 pesos, around 83 cents US. And the company also operates in Colombia and Mexico. That said, they're not ready to roll out to those customers just yet. Lederman said that there were some regulatory issues which would need to be studied first. And we covered it here last May when Argentina's central bank prevented a couple of banks from allowing their customers access to crypto. This came after the International Monetary Fund approved a $45 billion loan. And part of the conditions for that loan is that the central bank discourages the use of crypto. It looks like what happened here is that in order to comply with Argentina's financial laws, Lederman said that they had to make a special company to provide crypto services in the country. This new company is based in England, and it's using the crypto company BitGo as its crypto liquidity provider. Now, last August, they raised $350 million in a Series D funding round. This was led by SoftBank and Tencent affiliates. This gave them a $2.45 billion post-money valuation. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Weekend Leftovers. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. We'll see you tomorrow night.